Yeah, so hey, how's it going? Name's Quincy. I guess my background is I am a AWS cloud developer who currently works at a private equity firm. I currently go to Arizona State University, majoring in economics and a focus in computer software development. I have a wide collection of private projects and a handful of startups that I've worked on, and I guess that's sort of in a nutshell my background. I found crypto. So the main I guess you could say, for question number two, how'd you find crypto? I found crypto mostly through a sort of exploring the technology in a sense. So just like everybody else, I've heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum at the time, and I actually put together. I put together multiple bots, but I put together a bot, and it's funny because I should call it the Doge bot because it would only check for parabolic runs, and I actually had sort of a math problem that would run, and if it would fall into this specific range of trades, it would be a parabolic run. And I actually saw that bot literally watch Bitcoin go from, you know, literally all over the place. From 3,000 to 20,000 over the course of the past year, whatever. And I've been working with a lot of other not so much crypto projects, but I've kind of I dove in a little bit, but not really into the tech yet. And at this time, I was primarily just working on AWS and cloud. But then I started realizing that there are a lot of other payment applications that I needed that crypto could solve. And I ended up finding just a bunch of tokens that can help me solve those problems. And that kind of just ended up being my gateway drug into crypto as a whole. And even though I have followed Bitcoin and Ethereum at first, and originally when I got into crypto programming, I originally learned a Solidity, and I originally did everything Ethereum, but it just never fit the use case I was trying to build, and it was just too slow and too expensive. So I ended up kind of out of just utility, I needed some of these tech, and I was interested in the beginning. So I decided screw it, why not dive into it? And I ended up diving in head first with XRP, but then ended up broadening into XLM, XDC, and Corda, and some of the other tokens. Um, where do you feel we are right now? We are definitely in a space where there is a lot of back-end adoption happening, but it's happening in such a capacity that regular people, even if it wasn't blockchain adoption, it could be something else adoption. Because it's happening on the back end of the enterprises, people would never care what it is. And even though people can sort of see in the retail side, how big crypto is becoming, and a lot of this price movement, a lot of the back end structural infrastructure that's being put in place is actually being replaced by not only cloud platforms but crypto platforms and blockchain platforms. And we're seeing a lot of it with a lot bigger companies than you would think. And it may not be as public as, and I wouldn't even say it's not as public, it's just not as flashy. You're not going to see it plastered all over CNN or whatever, but you may see it in in some finance journal talking about some, partnership between two companies and what that may mean for the stock price or something. But it's happening. It's happening. And I think it's one of those things where I feel like we're further out the other end than we are going into it, but we're still really early on in the overall adoption of the global use case of these technologies. So, yeah, that's kind of where I feel we are right now. I do feel like the last hurdle is regulatory clarity, not just from organizations like the SEC, but also regulatory clarity on what digital currencies are, and how they should be. And I don't mean cryptocurrencies; I mean digital fiat also included. How are these different technologies supposed to be treated, and how do you interact with these technologies is going to be a real key point in regards to regulatory clarity, especially in regards to business needs, finance needs, tax needs, whatever. That's going to be a big point. Next, where do you feel that we are going? I do see broad adoption. The adoption curve is coming, and by the time, you got to remember this too. So by the time regular people hear about it, we would have already been way past the adoption curve. So it's sort of this weird. We're in it, and you're not really gonna see how far in it until after you sort of pass through it. And sort of my guess is is we're already really deep into it in regards to what could potentially be the overall adoption curve, and the overall use case that a lot of these companies can use it for. But at the same time, this is a saturation thing you've got to look at. So you could have like the top 10 biggest companies in the world all to come together and say, we're going to use these platforms, they're great. And that can be huge adoption, but that doesn't solve the saturation of other businesses being able to operate on those networks, and then being able to have the Metcalf effect kick into play, so you can have a broader network of value the more people that are on it. So the adoption's here, and along with that too, you won't really see that value really spike up until after you've seen a broad enough adoption and a broad enough saturation in the space for there to be to get that overall. To get a bigger use of value than you otherwise would have with the technologies operating by themselves, if that makes sense. And my final message, so my final message would be, everybody out there, I guess I don't really want to tell people what to do, but I would say focus more on the technologies that you care about. If you and I don't mean just pick a coin and act like it's your favorite football team. I mean, find something that you find is quite interesting and can be used in such a manner, and just share it with people. If you think this technology is interesting and cool, share it with people why you think it's going to be interesting and cool. Don't. I kind of think it's silly that people ask what's going to happen to the price. Nobody knows where the price is going to go. It's a silly question. But you could ask where you think the technology may go, or what apps you think that could be used, or what companies you think could benefit. There's so many ways you could go about. Or ways you could go in approaching how you can bring up conversations around these technologies. And I think that's the real important thing. So for anybody out there listening to this, just talk more about the technology you care about, crypto or not, with the people you care about. So, yeah.